Record. Good evening, Greta.
Good evening, Alan. And tonight there is news in the NATALEE Holloway case. Just hours ago, Joran Vandersloot's lawyers argued why Joran Vandersloot should not be rearrested. But will Joran end up back in jail? The Aruban prosecutor's office wants Joran back in jail. The prosecutor is appealing a judge's decision that was not to rearrest Joran. The deadline for Vandersloot's lawyers to fight that appeal was a few hours ago. Vandersloot's lawyer, Joe Takapina, confirmed to us that they made that deadline, and he sent us this statement. We are confident that Joran will remain at liberty. That confidence is based on the evidence in this case. Joining us on the phone from Aruba is Jossy Mansur, managing editor for Diario newspaper. Good evening, Jossy. And Jossy, what can you tell me about the filing by the defense lawyers for Joran?
Well, they did comply with the judge's ruling. They presented whatever they had to present in his defense. And from our sources within the prosecution, we understand that the decision will come tomorrow. If not, then the latest on Friday.
Now, where are these judges? Are they in Aruba or are they on another island?
I understand they were on Curacao, on another island, and that most of these writs were presented in writing.
Were these judges did they ever sit on any aspect of this investigation before, do you know?
And I don't know, because we don't know which of the three judges sat on this case specific.
Is the prosecutor back at Aruba? I know that he's been in Holland on vacation.
We haven't seen him back so far. Maybe he's coming in tomorrow or over the weekend.
Why is it that the prosecutor thinks a decision could come as early as tomorrow? Typically, at least in the United States, we don't get much notice on decisions.
Because once everything has been complied with and both sides have presented their case to the judges will review it. Since it's such a high-profile case, they will review it as quickly as possible and give a ruling as quickly as necessary.
Now, Joran has a lawyer here in the United States, Joe Takapina. Joe Takapina has been on this show. How many lawyers does he have in Aruba?
I think that he has two of them, a Dutchman, and an associate of his in the office.
Is his family rich?
Whose family? Joran?
Joran's, yeah.
His father seems to have sufficient funds to pay all his high-powered lawyers here in the U.S. and in Holland.
It's interesting, though, Jossy, when I was there, they didn't look like they were an extremely wealthy family compared with some of the wealthy families in Aruba. And I was curious if they have maybe family money, because his father is just, I mean, he did not seem to have a high-powered job.
Well, they must have money from somewhere, because they are paying different lawyers on Aruba in the U.S. and in Holland, and they are expensive lawyers.
What's the reaction on the island? Still a high-profile front page?
Still high-profile front page, and still turning against Joran all the time.
Has there any other dowry been exposed? I know Dowry Rodriguez has been on this show. He was the one that Joran identified as the one who tossed Natalie's body from the boat. He said he didn't do it. Is there another dowry who's been identified?
No, that rumor was put out and was confirmed by someone within the prosecution at one time, but we don't think there's any other dowry. We think this dowry, because he knows Joran, and he called Joran, and Joran apologized to him, we think he was the man, and he denied having any kind of participation in this.
Jossy, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, Les Levine is a private investigator working for Joran Vandersloot's defense team, and he joins us live in New York. Welcome, Les.
Thanks, Greta.
Les, have you had a chance to talk to any of the lawyers in connection with this filing today?
I spoke to Joe a little while ago.
What did he tell you?
He told me that they complied with what they had to do, and that now it's a case of sitting back and waiting.
Now, essentially what they're doing is arguing that he should not be rearrested, right?
Well, if they're going to rearrest him based upon the credibility of that alleged confession, then it's obvious they haven't done their homework.
Now, you say alleged confession. You know, most of us who heard it wouldn't call it alleged. We heard him say it. Usually it's alleged when you don't hear it.
I say it's alleged because it's not substantiated by the facts. That confession was all full of holes, loaded with lies, and it just would not stand up in a court of law.
Why do you say that it's full of holes? I mean, it certainly is. I mean, I don't know whether it's true or not, but I mean, it certainly is consistent with what the facts.
Well,
it's not impossible that that's exactly what happened.
Well, let's take it apart, Greta, if you want to. Supposedly, a telephone call was made by a phone by the pool. That phone was dumped out, and there was no such call. Supposedly, he called this gentleman who was on the island and had a boat. The gentleman not only didn't have a boat, wasn't on the island. If you want to go a little step further, he turns over this unfortunate young lady to this gentleman to dispose of, and then walks home. I mean, there's just no credibility. It just doesn't hold up. None of that alleged confession, and I call it alleged because that's all it was just hype. It was just he talking to a man of dubious character, trying to tell him what he thought he wanted to hear while under the influence of marijuana.
You know, it's hard to have much to like Joran Vandersloot very much listening to that tape. Would you agree with that?
I would think that that's it. What he did was horrible. I think he'll spend the rest of his life regretting it. He damaged his mother and his father and the entire defense team. But having said that, it still is just not true.
Have you spoken to his parents?
I've had email contact with his dad.
And what is his father saying?
You know, his father's very disappointed in what Joran did, but it is his son, and he's standing by him.
As what? I mean, staying by him like he didn't do it, or that he's not immoral?
He's standing by him that he didn't do it because he didn't do it. That's been our position from day one. They focused on him for 2.5 years and still haven't been able to prove that he's the perpetrator in this horrific crime. I think that what they did was they focused on him and let many other suspects slip through their fingers, and shame on them for doing that.
Like? What other suspects?
Well, I myself, with some of my people, were on that island and went to some of these drug bars and spoke to people who I myself would have brought in for interrogation. We spoke to members of their own beach patrol who said that they're up and down that beach every 20 to 25 minutes, and this didn't happen the way it was supposed to happen. Just, you know, when you focus on one person and try to prove that that person is guilty and exclude every other possibility, you're going to wind up just where we are today. 2.5 years later, multiple arrests and nothing of any.
Except what's profoundly different, though, Les, right now is that, you know, is that the last 2.5 years people have been trying to search for the answers, and now we have Joran Vandersloot saying these are the answers. This is what he says on tape, and now after he gets caught on tape, he says, "Oh, I was high on dope, and those were all lies."
Yeah, but even if you want to forget the fact that he was high, there's no substance to what he says. What he says is totally a fabrication, and the prosecution knows that, and we know it as his defense team. There's just no truth to what he said.
Do you think the cops were corrupt or inept, or this is just a case that couldn't be solved? What's your position?
Well, I don't think they were corrupt, for sure. I hate to use the word inept, but I certainly feel that they focused in the wrong area, and because of that, perhaps the real perpetrator has gotten away with this horrific crime.
Is Joran worried that he's going to get arrested?
Well, I think he's, as any human being would be, he's concerned that he doesn't want to go through this process again. But I think
seems sort of you know what the problem is? He seems sort of arrogant, like he doesn't care when listening to that tape.
Well, you know, look, this kid has gone through the rigors of hell for 2.5 years, and he's certainly not the same Joran who we met 2.5 years ago. But he's certainly, I can't tell you he's not concerned that he won't be rearrested, but he's confident in the fact he didn't do the deed, and therefore this too shall pass.
I don't know if this too shall pass, but we'll certainly learn tomorrow or Friday whether or not he'll be rearrested. Les, thank you.
Thank you, Greta.